go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is the regular meeting, March 5th of the Board of Selectmen here in Jackson. Thank you for coming. We're glad you were able to make it today, and we'll start off with agenda item number 1, which is to amend and approve the minutes from our regular meeting on February 19th of this year. John and Bill, did you have opportunities to go through the minutes?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, then I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to approve the minutes as written.
So moved.
Second.
Either one of you have any edits or deletions you think should?
You have one name correction we got
Yeah,
that?
Andrew's name is with a K,
Okay.
Where's that?
just
The
in
new
the,
officer.
Oh, got that wrong again, huh? Well, at least we're consistent. Okay. Is that under police report?
it's actually just in the first section of,
Tenants?
Conklin.
Okay. Under visitors? I'm sorry, where?
I don't remember where it was.
I don't see it under visitors.
No, I wasn't under visitors. Huh.
Oh, okay.
Thought it was.
was it last week?
No, it was because we did a correction. It's under the minutes.
Oh,
Because
okay.
I had spelled it Coughlin, C-O-U-G-H, so it's a correction to the minutes. Under the first agenda
page.
item. Correction to the minutes right there. Item 1,
Do-do-do.
correction to the minutes.
Oh, right there?
And then in the
Okay.
minutes right there.
Okay. You already done it.
Well, no, I
No.
spelled it with a C both times, and now it's
Got it.
okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. There we go.
Apologize.
All right. All those in favor of approving the minutes as amended?
Aye.
Right, okay, very good. Have you sign those? Second order of business, take a look at our action items list from the February 19th meeting. You've got one, but it's not really something that's going to happen until the spring. John, you want to update us on the whole doublehead parking?
Well, we had to put a hold on the parking right now. Just basically, Andrew Beal had contacted us and said that he would want us to make sure he had somebody to represent him, represent the family, and unfortunately, nobody was able to do that. So he asked that we postpone it. Did you get a sense that it was going to be another date?
Yeah, Julie was working with him
Okay.
to.
So,
coordinate.
yeah.
Excellent, thank you. Julie? Parking issues, work with them, that's all done. Julie H., same thing.
Not much going on.
No, not a lot on the way of action items. We do have some upcoming meetings we want to make sure you know about. And that is next Tuesday, March 10th, town elections from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then our annual town meeting will be 7 p.m. on Thursday, March 12th next week. And then the following week, March 19th, will be our regular selectmen's meeting, and that'll be 4:30 here at the town office. Agenda item 3 is the moderator with details of the upcoming election. Yeah,
Pretty simple.
you want to come up, or?
Yeah.
Sure. We got everything pointed so we get your good side here.
Is that what you
Yeah.
feel?
Nice to see you.
Good, yeah, same here. John, I didn't expect to see you. I figured you'd be
I know, I didn't either.
Gosh, he's official shakes here. Well, we're in good shape. As you know, we've been communicating back and forth. This will be my second time in 16 years that I've had a conflict issue that has not it's taking me away from the world, as you guys know. But we're in good shape, so you guys hopefully are a little easy. Laurel Smith, one of my 2 assistants, is in town. She plans on being available for the day on Tuesday, including counting the ballots Tuesday night. I told her that's an awful long day for you, and 2 of the 3 selectmen will be splitting duties for the day and can assist, give her a short break, which is, I told Julie, it's, you guys are automatically election officials when you take the oath of office, and it being on the ballot, the only thing that precludes you from doing your duties is you cannot count the ballot that you're on that night, as you know, so we're good. I'll be there to open the polls Tuesday morning and probably leave about 9 and go do my work-related duties in Ellsworth, Maine, and be back Thursday for town meeting. So we're good to go. I'm filling in for Tim tonight to appreciate the school district meeting, but we're in good shape. Julie have done a good job recruiting volunteers to do the check-in, check-out list. I think that's pretty well under control. And I think you've got a handle on 5 or 6 or 7 people that have volunteered to help count ballots.
You know, I don't know where that.
That's Julie. Julie too, I say. She's working on that, but she's got that, and during the day, yeah, it's going to be such a simple, I mean, it'll be a very slow day. Town elections, there's no state and federal issues whatsoever, so I expect it'll be a very slow day, a very long day for many, and very easy to count ballots. I said, 4 or 5 teams of 2 should be more than sufficient.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah, and you guys have all done that enough
Yep.
times, so and I know you're not going to be there, but
Right.
I can let you something's changed. So I was thinking we were going to have to,
Yeah,
have you 2 fill in for several hours, but she's stepped up a great rate, so.
I saw her outside when I walked in,
Oh,
I think, and talking with Karen.
oh, she may have, yeah, well,
Set things like
Karen, there
that
again,
up.
Karen's very familiar with the whole
Yeah,
process, and
right.
she will
Yeah.
certainly be there. The only thing that, between you and Karen, make sure that any people that volunteer for the day have to be sworn in.
Yeah.
As election assistants, if you will, for that election period. Simple. You just kind of reword a couple of statements there.
And
She's got
Karen
that.
can do that?
Karen can do that. The town clerk, the selectman, the moderator, can swear those people in. So,
Okay.
like people are gonna do the check-in list, check-out list need to be sworn in. People are gonna help count ballots need to be sworn in, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
Other than that, it should be fine.
Okay, excellent.
Simple.
Thanks for,
The only other question I have, and obviously if you have any issues that you want brought up prior to us getting into the meat and potatoes of the town meeting a week from Thursday night, let me know ahead of time and I'll recognize, obviously we'll recognize you first anyway.
okay, excellent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for squeezing me in quick.
No problem.
Thank you.
Go later. See you.
See you Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
I'll be there first.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. See you later.
Excellent. All right. Moving right along then, that's agenda item number 4 that is next, public comments? Yes.
Yeah, you sent me a letter on mailbox, Jay's here. I just want it noted that my mailbox in 81, it used to be up till 81, it was on my side of the road. And there wasn't a problem. The post office made me move it across the street. And until 4 years ago, it was never hit. Jay hit it there one Sunday this year. Last year, one day I fixed it, an hour later it was knocked off again and they hit the telephone pole that hooked it, and that was not during a storm, that was after a storm. And that year, Jay hit it too with a grader before that. I want it duly noted, I don't know what you can do about it, but been there for 30-some years and it hasn't been hit till lately.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, mine are hit. It's been over the 70s.
Any other public comments? All right. Police reports up next. Chief Jetty?
Good afternoon. See all of you. Thank you, sir. How are you? Great to see you. Nice to see you. Get along around, John.
No, I got, played basketball.
Should be fairly quick. A few items. We've had a good couple of weeks in terms of enforcement and activity with the department. Recent event with the snow sculptures presented a little bit of an issue with parking and travel in here, but we took it case by case and dealt with the vehicles that pose the most immediate threat to emergency services, and everybody seemed compliant, and it was handled well. But I think traffic in general through town and on Route 16 is slowed down because vacation is over and people are back into their normal routines of being up here 3 or 4 days and going home. We had several alarms, residential alarms sounded at various hours of the night in the past couple of weeks, but those were mainly attributable to the high winds that came through. We certainly aren't seeing any increase in criminal activity in terms of break-ins or attempted break-ins. We have finalized and entered into a new contract with the Common Humane Society and their ability to receive animals that we feel need to be taken into custody or are at large within the community and we can't find an owner. So that's been finalized and done for 2015 at a cost of $150. We are receiving, as a matter of reinstituting a joint intelligence task force with Bartlett and Conway. We've been informed and brought into the loop that they're investigating several reports happening in Bartlett and Conway that have to do with thefts of catalytic converters. And it's a part of an automobile's exhaust system. And the parties involved are pretty brazen. They've taken one, possibly two, right from McDonald Motors during the day and during the night. So they're keeping us informed of what to look out for. And again, it just goes back to all the neighbors watching everybody else and making sure that unknown vehicles and people that they see are reported to us, and we do go and we talk to them and investigate it.
What's the value of the catalytic converter?
It can be anywhere from $200 to $600 depending on the vehicle and the size of the catalytic converter. Right now, with the 6 that they have stolen, they're already over a $2,000 value, so it certainly brings it in that felony level of a crime. If it's one person, if it's multiple people, it'll be dealt with differently. But certainly, it is enough of there's enough of a value on that piece of equipment to make it a pretty significant theft. We all need to be diligent in looking at that. Other than that, that's where we're at for the department for the last couple of weeks.
Questions? No. Thanks, Chief. Building inspector is agenda item number 6. And the building inspector is in the house, so come on up and give us your weekly report.
So don't forget everything.
Nice to see you.
Oh, we can shake
Come
your
on.
Who started this?
I know.
So this afternoon was really busy, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Not enough time in the day. You see, I got 3 new building permits. One of them, I can't approve it yet because I'm waiting on a new septic design, and they know that. They moved to part of the addition, so I have to get a new septic design. The other one, I have to call the owner, and I got a bunch of questions to ask. And another one, too, I got a call about some work that I had some questions about. And he had some different sizes on the drawing, and then when he wrote, he had different numbers for the dimensions or whatever. So I think it was just a mistake of the writing. I closed out 3 permits too. One was the old library, that's all up to code. The violations are all fixed. There was a shed that was built in town, that's all up to code, looks great. And there was a house that just sold that we went over there to. I'm trying to think why we were called there. I gotta think about this for a second. Anyway, we went there and there were a bunch of violations, had no railings going upstairs, no railings going to the basement, some smoke detectors were missing, the deck wasn't fastened correctly, no house number, and I'm trying to think what else was there. But everything's been fixed now, it's all good, and the new owners are in. I also had a permit for the oil burner too, didn't have one, so it's all good. And the fire inspector was over there and issued that. Did 2 inspections. One was for a plumbing rough-in for a big 6,000 square foot home, so they're putting all the plumbing in the slab, so a lot of digging, a lot of pipe. It's a pretty big house. We also looked at a DC solar system that went on a new house, and it's pretty interesting. I learned something about this too. I learned that this house, the meters inside, the meter that you sell the power back to the so-called co-op, but you don't have to sell power to the co-op. You can sell power to an independent broker, and all you have to do is every 3 months, you take a picture of your meter, and it's got the serial number on there, and you send the picture of the meter, of the power you made, and they give you credit for it. And from what I learned, they give you a lot more money than co-op would give you for the power sent back. So that's something I learned. And everything looked good. There were some minor violations with some other stuff there, but they're going to get it all fixed. And the house is still under, the finish isn't all done, so they have time to do all that. And, let me see what else there is. Oh yeah, I had Mason come in just before and ask about chimney clearances. They put a new chimney in the house, and he had all kinds of questions about the clearances, and we went over that. And actually had Goody come over, have him take a look at it too. So we're all on the same page now. Everything's good.
Great.
That's about it.
Excellent. Any questions for Kevin, either one of you? Thanks, Kevin.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
And then we have one building permit here in the file, and that is for map R19, lot 5, Joan White, getting a new generator placed on an outdoor gravel bed and framed up on a 3x4 footprint. And that's it for building permits for us. Agenda item 7, new business. And we had the doublehead parking issue, and that's on hold, as we talked about when we went over the action items. Dundee Road right-of-ways. Was Martha Benesh, was she planning on coming today?
Yeah.
Okay. She was gonna kind of fill us in on some
Do you know her,
right-of-way
Hank?
stuff she's been doing. Hank, you want to give us the report?
She gave a report to the Conservation Commission on Monday.
Oh, okay.
So she did that. I don't know if she was coming for it today.
Okay.
But I know Monday she was there.
Okay. And this is basically an FYI filling us in on what she's been doing and as far as research. And so I guess we can read through this later if you want.
Sure.
And get caught up with that, or contact somebody on the Conservation Commission to get the gist of that report if you like. And then we also have under new business a new scrap metal agreement here, and it's a joint Board of Selectmen agreement where we Boards of Selectmen of the towns of Bartlett and Jackson do hereby agree to allow Roger Labby to purchase for the amount of $1,250 the scrap metal that is deposited at the transfer station for a period of 1 year, starting on April 1st and ending 2015 and ending March 31st, 2016. So it's same, looks like the same agreement we signed last year. Either one of you like to put forth a motion to sign the scrap metal agreement between the two towns and Roger Labby?
I will. So moved.
Second the motion.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Motion passes on March 5th. 15.
No, just copper and one.
Next day, next day.
It's always been.
Okay. That's it for new business. Old business. Either one of you have anything that belongs in their old business today?
I had just kind of a reminder, I believe it was Dr. Carrier that came in and mentioned the kind of short little bridge that's right across from Badger Realty there that's kind of chewed up.
Yeah.
Want to make sure that gets put on the spring docket of things to do. I'm sure that Kenny would do that.
The state,
State?
there's been many conversations about that, and the state doesn't seem to want to fix it.
Really?
There's been some argument as to whose it is, but it's pretty blatant. It's a box cover that belongs to the bridge, and it's their railing.
Yeah.
I actually offered to help them fix it because we had a bunch of pressure treated, so we were gonna kind of do it together, and Kenny's bosses aren't being very cooperative. So I thought last year didn't the town send them a letter saying that it needed to be fixed? It's been like that for at least a year,
Oh, yeah.
maybe 2 years. They're
Can't-
not being
yeah.
very cooperative about it at all, so
Yeah.
I don't know how you want to proceed with that as selectmen. Send another letter again.
Well, we talked about it in a meeting last spring, and I called Ken, and I got the name and phone number of his
Brian.
supervisor, who was, I think, out of Lancaster,
Brian
if
Shutt.
I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And contacted him and called him, and he said he was, that it was a little complicated as far as state procedure because they needed to start with some concrete work first. And the concrete team was doing this and that first, and so it was on their list, but a low priority. And I think I contacted him in June.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Because I said, well, what do you think? Do you think this will be kind of squared away for the summer? He says, well, I hope so. I wanted to have it squared away in March, and so here it is, and it still hasn't happened, and that was last June, so
Can you drop a dime on him?
drop a dime.
Call your governor's council. Okay. He replaced Ray Burton, call him.
Call the executive counselor.
Yeah, Joe Kenny.
I'd give Brian another call first,
Yeah.
and then if it doesn't work,
They didn't want to jump too many heads.
Too early. Yeah, right. We don't want to keep our friends. We don't have many. Can you come up with that number again? I'm sure I don't have it. And
Not my own joke, it's terrible.
what's Brian's last name?
Scott, not Scott, Scott.
Scott?
C-U-T-T, something like
That
that.
makes sense. Yeah, I think it's coming back. And see if we can put that right on my action item list. It's full, but we got room for one more. All right. Thank you. Well, what else do you have for old business?
That's it.
Okay.
Unless maybe the facade there by the park is getting kind of chewed up too. I don't know, maybe put a coat of paint on that or something. I don't know, but I was just noticing that when I went by it.
The facade?
It's like the stop sign, but it's not where the park where Thornhill meets 16A there, right above the ballpark there. It's got the reflectors.
Yeah.
It's just I just thought maybe he's sprucing up a little
All
bit.
right. There you go. You know what he's talking about?
No, yes, I don't.
Right by the ballpark, the wooden structure that. Pressure treated railing there. This looks kind of, needs to spruce up. Nothing major, but if you got nothing to do, right?
Something to do when the snow melts. Good enough.
I think
What-
somebody else had brought that up there, I was just remembering that.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Any old business? No? Okay. Well, that takes us down to the next agenda item. Number 9, public comments.
On a parking, you were gonna talk about the ski term too, I thought. Over there in Notch over Jack Shack. The same, is that gonna be dealt with the same time Dundee?
Don't think we've had a conversation about,
When we talked about it a couple meetings ago, that was mentioned too. That parking lot they put in, they parked on the road over there.
I haven't had any complaints.
I mean, like
Maybe
last,
they do, but
I mean, last Sunday they're parking on the road. And, I mean, what good's the sign if you've got ordinance that says no parking on the road? You were gonna, I thought we were gonna talk about that in Dundee and all of them. Because I mean, they put the parking lot in, because they used to have, at Boys Field, they had a trailhead there. And Peter and them got the state to put no parking signs because people would park on the road. So then they put a parking area in, and now they park on the road there, like up Dundee.
okay.
And I mean, Dundee, I know that's private, and Joe has looked at, you know, he's marked out a place where the government will ever do it up on the other trailhead. Like I said, he's walked it and marked it out for him, Joe Gill.
Yeah.
Because like, Sunday when I come down, they were parked on both sides of that entrance. There were 7 cars. So when I come down, I'm on the wrong side of the road this time of year, and you can't see around that corner by Earl's house. Because it backed up so far that you're on the wrong side of the road, and if you hit somebody, who's liable? Not the guy coming up the road.
Okay. I don't remember talking about the end of Carter Notch Road. I remember us
Not
talking
the
about
end of
Route
Carter Notch.
16B.
The new parking lot that they put in a couple years ago was approved for 14 cars or whatever, and they put more in it, but they park up the side of the road too. Sunday,
Overflow.
Sunday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, there were 9 cars on the side of the road there.
On Dundee.
No,
No.
7 on Dundee, there were 9 over there. And the parking lot was half full, because it holds water, so they didn't want to park on the ice on the lower end.
Got it. You familiar with the situation, Chief?
Jack Shack.
We have not received a complaint about that.
Okay.
and Pat hasn't said anything about him parking up there during a storm. So,
You guys have been up there, right? Doing stuff?
and there's definitely parking issues all over.
Right.
Yeah.
And specifically Dundee, that's getting worse and worse because for whatever reason, apparently Black Doublehead has become a
Hot spot.
hotspot for backcountry skiing. Definitely it's increased big
It
time.
has. In fact, we marked one, I say marked, we ticketed one yesterday.
I think
On
And
Dundee?
ended up coming in here, so,
On Dundee?
yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of the Carter Notch Road issue. I haven't received a complaint from residents or the like, so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's wider over there, but I'm just saying, when you got an ordinance that says no parking on the roadside, I mean, if you start picking on one area, someone's
Yeah.
gonna say you don't hit this one.
Yep.
The push needs to be for the government, I think, to do
Well-
something on their land up by the new path up by here.
The common, the common core with all of these issues is the ski area. They need to be involved in these conversations. Whether, I agree with Dean, and 100% that we can't tow and ticket out of one area and not the other, regardless of the amount of impact it has on the traffic flow. The ordinance is the ordinance, we should be doing it. However, it goes back to getting, in my opinion, it goes back to getting the Ski Touring Foundation involved in saying, this is a problem, and it's costing your customers $500 a year, costing your company $500 a year, and the people that go away mad because they're paying parking tickets or towing. I think that they need to be here and given all of this information and also given the instruction to come up with an alternative. I think we're well within our expectations to put the ball in their court because they in fact are creating or letting that issue go on.
And you're specifically talking about Carter Notch Road?
And Dundee.
I'm talking about Garden Arch
Talking
Road.
about ski touring.
Well, no, I'm really not. I'm talking about both of the overflow areas. that
Okay.
are all-
Because Dundee has nothing to do with Jackson Ski Touring.
No. No, but that one's more like Jay said, it's a narrower road.
Right. And
It's
that's-
right on the corner, too.
So that's why I was looking for clarification. When he says that ski touring should be involved, he's not talking about Dundee, he's talking
No.
about the end of Carter Notch Road.
Correct.
Well, there's a lot of areas that
Yeah.
touring people end up
Yeah.
parking in the road, not just cutting on.
Yeah, and they're talking about putting a parking lot on Valley Cross Road. Ski touring. That's the Chases, and then once that gets in, and then they'll have a head, so they'll be on the side of the road there before long.
Yeah.
They park there anyway sometimes, across the road.
Like, the last time we were here and Steve Weeder was here, was when we talked about it. And we mentioned ski touring, and like, they used to have a shuttle for this. They had a bus for many years that they shuttled people out of the parking lot up to different spots.
Right.
No, I remember that, but,
The other thing, you probably keep the chamber involved, because whenever the chamber has an event, the ball field, that turns into a war zone. Right in front of the ball field, and that's the narrowest section of the village.
like the snow sculpture, you mean?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
Weekend, bad.
Yeah,
You had
it
to
was.
get through there,
I drove through there a few times. You're
You know,
absolutely,
so
yeah.
What's a parking ticket go for, Chief?
$25.
I'm willing to pay it just to park.
So where else other than the end of Carter Notch
50%
Road right now?
It's not the end.
I'm sorry, hold on a second. Where else, other than the end of Carter Notch Road there, Jay, is there an issue with parking that involves the ski touring?
Valley Cross Road sometimes,
Uh-huh.
apparently by Jack Shack, which is just above the Hardings, I guess is the best way to, before you get to Gills Bridge on the right.
Where there's a parking
Yeah.
area that is not
Yeah.
large enough to accommodate?
We've never had a problem there, but apparently there has been, so.
Huh. I call that Woodchuck Fields, that's what they call it. Okay. So Carter Notch Road, Valley Cross Roads,
If I may.
Woodchuck. Yeah,
Here's some photographs that we took. This is a Dundee parking area, and also 16A, right in front of the, right in front of the ski area.
It's quality, where do you get this?
We have one of these that's posted on every entrance into
there's
town.
not a problem with that, is there? Or is there?
No, it was more in relationship to that one, where they're not in the
And
lot.
that's Stevens,
That they're actually
driveway.
in the driveway.
right.
That's all, no parking there.
So are, go ahead.
The other spot, when the ski touring has big races, the village by Jigtown usually ends up a bad section.
And you have an image of that right there.
So what, outside of increased signage and continuing to ticket, what else? I mean, there could be some signage inside the ski touring lodge, is I guess what you're saying, so that there's a level of awareness when people buy tickets and intend to go somewhere, that they're clear on parking. I mean, what else are the solutions that are being put forward? Yeah?
One of my thoughts, and it's just, I guess, a suggestion, during a big race, if ski touring had some kind of a parking attendant,
Yeah.
that would help big time, because I've seen across from Jigtown where that parking lot's not been full before, but yet people are parked in front of the hydrants and in front of the no parking signs, all the way down along the golf course and the old Red Fox and the church and that area. The other thing, when the chamber is like doing their snow sculptures, it'd be if they had a parking attendant that could direct people towards the parking lots up by the town hall, rather than the The section right by the ball field is the worst, because that
Yeah.
gets bad enough where somebody's gonna get hit.
Mhm.
It's always been like that, but
Right,
let's be as proactive as we can, and, you know,
yeah.
I don't know, probably can't force them to have a parking attendant, but I guess if they don't want their people towed.
Yeah. So what happened over the weekend, Chief? Should the cones have gone out earlier? It seemed like I went by a couple times, there were cars parked up Thornhill, and then I came back and there were some cones where there were empty spots, but there were still people parked. In hindsight, did we want the cones out earlier, or didn't anticipate that kind of?
I did not anticipate that, looking back historically at the past 5 years for that event.
Yeah.
The graph is up and down. Sometimes it's 100 people, sometimes it's 500 people.
Mhm.
It happened to be on a weekend that was good weather and people showed up.
Mm-hmm.
They had it at different places last year.
Usually
That was,
isn't there,
they had it Black last year and Nestle.
So-
Right,
Yeah.
right,
So it's hard, we typically haven't put the cones out,
yeah,
but once I got the call
right. And
from
then
my officers that it was becoming an issue, yeah, put the cones out and let's see what we can do. So-
you said something, Stan, and I missed it.
Yeah, it's usually not there in the past.
Right. It's bounced around, yeah, okay. Jay?
I talked to Doug about this a little bit the other day, but I'm gonna look at an option to propose to you guys about eliminating more parking in front of the ball field down as far as the schemos, a little bit farther down. Add some parking spaces by the intersection of Thornhill somehow. There's a proposed parking plan that was done middle 2000, early 2000, I don't know if B was selected back then or not, but there is a parking plan on file that was proposed that never went anywhere, that was gonna eliminate all parking on one side of the road all the way through the village and add spaces in front of the schemos and up the side of Thornhill Road. And that just didn't go nowhere, didn't happen, didn't go nowhere. I happened to stumble onto the plan 2 days ago in the office. So me and Doug talked a little bit, and we may try to solve a little bit of the problem, at least right in front of the ball field.
Mm-hmm.
When we used to have the barbecues down here in the park, they used to let them park up one side of one hill.
Which is possible,
Yeah.
which is what I'm gonna work on. We're gonna work on when, I don't know, but, which is probably, we can make that probably happen, and it seems like it makes sense.
Yeah. So as a prevention, I'm just wondering if when we have events in the park, rather than wondering how big it's going to be, should the policy be to place the cones whenever there's a scheduled event in the park? Would that be helpful?
We can certainly do that.
I mean, it can take you 10 minutes or whatever.
The hard part of that is making sure people are properly notified before an event.
Well, that was the other thing about this year's event, is it was scheduled.
Rescheduled.
And then rescheduled, and then rescheduled.
It doesn't always work.
It doesn't always work.
Perfect.
that way.
Okay.
Is that going to apply to soccer games during the summer? The parents are going to go crazy.
It absolutely could.
Well, there's signage there on some, where it gets real thin and there's no parking, right? But it's just not adhered to.
You can,
It's not adhered.
So what's the option other than ticketing people that aren't adhering to the no parking signs?
you have parking down here, the old tennis court. They
Right.
could park quite a few cars. If they could walk that far, isn't that big a distance?
Right.
You have the school. It's-
No, I understand there are options, and whether people are aware of them or not, I mean, parking in front of a no parking sign should not be considered an option.
No, it's.
So,
Maybe some directions, maybe, yeah.
I mean, I think that's where, when I'm looking at chamber events, and I know those cones are unsightly and everything else, but sometimes they need to go out, or any event in the park. Then beyond that, I mean, we're looking at what people are saying is related to the Ski Touring Foundation in the winter, where Valley Crossroads, the Woodchucks Fields, Carter Notch, 16A, and across from the J-Town Deli, are some of those areas, do we need signage in some of those areas?
We've added some.
Do we need more signage in some of those areas? I think if it's adequately, if there's adequate signage, and it's clear when somebody buys their ticket that there are some no parking areas they need to be aware of,
But it
haven't
still
we
doesn't-
done due diligence?
Still doesn't fix the problem in some spots.
If you're
They don't
ticketing,
read.
People are gonna park where they're gonna park.
right.
And a lot of people will accept the consequences.
Yeah, they'll take the $25 ticket because it's cheaper than buying a parking space.
so what action do you take? What's the action? What's the solution that's being floated? More signs, not saying, I'm not hearing a yes, more tickets. I'm not hearing that's gonna solve anything.
Combination of everything.
Personal
I don't know that
responsibility.
there is a solution. We're a vacation town.
You're a tourist.
We're a tourist town.
So let me ask you a question, if there's not a solution, why are we talking about it?
I'm defending what my department does.
No, and you shouldn't have to feel a need to do that. I'm looking for, there complaints coming about
Somewhere
parking.
back in the annals of the history of this town, somebody made a decision for it to be a vacation town.
Right.
And therefore there are inherent issues that come up.
I think the only solution is to be as proactive as you can and, have the discussion like we are right now and discuss it with the Chamber of
Yeah.
Commerce, discuss it with Ski Touring, discuss it with whoever needs to be discussed with and see what we can come up with.
Like I said, right at the moment, we got, the Dundee on the docket, maybe next, we'll be, Carter Notch will be the next docket, who knows?
But there again, you read the conservation minutes, they want to eliminate parking, more parking at the stores. No,
Yeah,
That's
that's
a
not,
no-brainer.
that's not a good idea.
no, it isn't.
I think it's just open community, another thought that we had, or I had, during a storm when Ski Touring's got races and stuff going on, it's bad over there. If we're gonna allow them to park between the golf repair garage and the old Red Fox, which is where they park, if we're gonna allow it, we should build parking spaces. Make it so they can comfortably park, so they're not half over the white line. So if we're gonna allow it, let's spend some money and build parking spaces. Talk to Mike Mallett from Red Fox and talk to whoever else is involved, and they're gonna park there, instead of letting them half park over the white line and half parking up against the snowbank, then just build parking spaces.
Well, I think that,
Or not let them park there and tow them, I guess.
when people are talking about the parking situation on Dundee Road and driving, I mean, it's a safety issue. So I don't know that just kind of like sitting back and feeling helpless is the right thing if we feel it's a safety issue. But
Probably not as much a safety issue on 16A as it is.
Well, Dundee parking, there is a chance of a resolution. There's a chance to make that better.
you mean when we finally have a conversation
Right.
with the parties involved? Yeah, right. And of course, we hope to have that today, but we'll
Aside from widening Main Street, to accommodate parking, or adding signage down there, so the options down here are limited.
right.
And even if you're talking about coning off areas during events, that has its limitations because cones are expensive and we don't have hundreds of cones just flying around.
Yeah. Well, I'm not talking about using more than you've
No, I'm
got.
not saying not, I'm just looking at
Yeah, right.
a solution, and even our solutions have extents to.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay.
As much people will use.
Anything more to add to the conversation?
Not any different than saying, I think it's a pleasant tourist town, and if, I don't think passing out tickets and towing cars is what you want to do. I don't think you want to get parents who go to soccer games and put tickets on their car and tow their automobile. That's not gonna be a happy experience, the pancake breakfast. I wouldn't do that.
Let me back up here.
Well, you know, you can do what you can do, I agree with you, but if they don't park up there, I wouldn't sit here, if Officer Jetty said, okay, here's the cars that are parked, you want me to tow them? I'm gonna tell them I wouldn't tow them. I just wouldn't do it.
And they have to.
You have an issue, we don't have,
No, they have a sidewalk.
Hold on a minute. Go
we
ahead.
don't, in other words, I'm not advocating spending any money building new parking spaces, and other than where you said over by the golf course, that might work, that might be easy. But I think the reality for me is you don't want to tow cars and you don't want to give people tickets all the time. And if there's a reason that you say, well, we put up signs and then we don't enforce it, take the signs down. Don't get in that battle. That's the wrong battle. It's just not going to settle well. I don't want to be in the meeting when the parent says, well, you towed my car, I need to get my kids home, and you don't want that battle. Take the signs down. If they double park and they block the road, then tow them off. But I wouldn't make this issue about the signs. The signs, we put the signs up and then we don't want to enforce it, we do want to enforce it, take the signs down. But don't fight public who we like to come, let alone the parents. I wouldn't go there.
I agree with you, definitely, Bill. I mean, it is what it is. but
It is what it is.
If you're not don't want to tow, then we have to explore parking options.
Correct.
You have to be, you're gonna have to start figuring out where they're gonna park. And there is gonna be certain times when you do have to tow.
I agree. I think you get whatever that is, but we had some passing comment about, are we going to ticket and tow the parents who go to soccer games? And I wouldn't touch that with a post. I don't think that's going to come out well.
Well, I know this photo here, where you've got the parking area that leads into the old Michaela's, and you're shooting all the side of the road that heads to J-Town. Just back from that is the Wentworth,
Right.
and that's a spot where
Well, as I
people
just,
who attend church are constantly parking,
yeah, and as I just
which is no different.
confirmed from the, I don't know if there ever was, but from the tennis courts that are just behind that photo shop, back through Wentworth Hall Ave to the Wentworth Hotel, there's no parking signs there. That's open for anybody to park.
Even though that's Wentworth
So-
property, that's not an issue.
Get into that mindset
Right.
of, okay, he's parking here, let's just continue it all the way down the
Right.
street.
Well, I think the issue isn't like what these people are doing, whether they're skiing, hunting, looking at fireworks, or watching a snow sculpture, or going to church. It's the issue is parking on the roads, and that's
Right.
You can't really separate why people are in town and
And they do.
I don't know. Yeah.
I think we do have to understand that the pictures that you're looking at, I mean, this is really a problem Christmas week and weekends during the heart of winter on Main Street. I mean, that's all it is. It's not every day, it's not an overwhelming daily problem all
Yeah.
year. This is, so I agree. Do we really want to, upset all kinds of tourists and people that help us, survive in this for what was really Christmas weekend and some weekends in the winter. It's not a problem for golfers. I don't think they don't, I don't see it happening in the summer. Soccer games are an occasional weeknight. I always thought it was.
So if someone puts you in charge, what are you going to do?
I would consider having signs up with no parking except. We don't want people just for the heck of it parking there during weeks where they don't have to park there. But, Christmas week or weekends from one period till the end of snow, I would allow that. I would. I don't know. I haven't been in this town as long as a lot of you guys. I don't know. Are people getting hit by cars all the time and cars hitting each other all the time? And is it really a major problem that we're, I tend to agree with Bill, I guess.
Mm-hmm, okay.
I mean, parents aren't gonna come here to park for something. It's not ever gonna happen, one
Yep.
way or another. They're
Right.
not gonna do it, I
Yeah.
don't care what you do,
Mm.
I think.
Mhm. Thank you. Nancy?
I can only speak for this winter. We've had awesome snow and great conditions, and you guys have done a great job with the roads. But every time it snows, there's a big crowd at Doublehead. And for us going down that road,
Yeah.
Virginia Gill is up there all the time walking her dogs. There are other people that walk their dogs there. And you literally have to go on the other side of the road on that blind corner to
Yeah.
pass.
That's
Yeah.
a different question. I agree with that. You gotta solve.
Yeah.
I can't imagine
and-
what it's like for Jay, trying to get the
Well,
town trucks up there.
we've had the conversation with the PD many times. There's at least 50% of the parking problems we have, we don't complain about. Because it is what it is. But
Yeah.
there is stuff that's an issue that's got to be dealt with.
Yeah.
Sunday is one of them.
And we do.
So,
But we've just got to ramp up a little bit and try to get a little proactive and see what we can do to make it better.
well, that's what I'm trying to understand. What does that mean? What does ramping up and being proactive mean? Does it mean increasing signage? Does it mean increasing awareness in some way, shape, or form somewhere? Or does it mean ticketing and towing and trying to change behavior by that? I mean, we've got people
Well,
that are...
the ticket and towing, yeah, it's all of that. I mean, we ticketed and towed, what, 2 ski clubbers?
But-
2 ski clubbers recently?
Yeah.
And that'll probably, might solve the problem with the ski club.
Well, you know...
They're not gonna wanna pay,
We didn't take them, they told, they
they're
were told.
not gonna wanna go to Conway and pick
Yeah.
up the car again. So there's one particular case where, you know, towing does sometimes solve things. It doesn't necessarily for the people that come in for a weekend
Right.
and never come back, you know, whatever.
Well, I think just interesting because there are lots of different opinions even in the room. I think the big concern, and you know, Nancy came late. We'd already heard all that from Dean, and that seems to be a safety issue. And I think that that concerns me. That's the one that really sounds like it might be a safety issue. And I know as far as a fire safety issue for the weeders, you know, I think we all agree with that, and that's why we'd hope to meet with
And there's definitely
the
a
folks
We haven't had
today.
a single, I talked to Steve, something else I meant to mention. I talked to Steve recently, and since I put up, the department put up the tow-away zone at the beginning of his driveway, he hasn't had a single car parking.
Does that mean they've spilled out onto Dundee? Is that?
Quite possible. Quite possible.
Okay, yeah, so, like whack-a-mole.
That's it. Moving on down the road.
Okay.
Another thing we've done is gone to a different color sign. You haven't seen them yet. We've got them in one spot, but we've gone to the, you know, the bright fluorescent yellow like the school signs, which is great. Gone to some, we got a couple particular parking lots that turnarounds where we put those colors up, which people can see. Right?
Instead of adding signs, replace them with those colors. And that would be a big struggle.
All right. Well, they're public roads, and so it's a public issue, and there's,
The ball
this
field
is where the
definitely-
solution is. I don't,
We gotta look at some options for the ball field because that's probably the worst spot we deal with.
okay.
It's, which is gonna take a little time to figure it out.
And you guys are talking?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, love to hear some sort of concrete ideas if you have them, or if you want selectmen's involved in your discussions, or you just want to come to us with a report or whatever. I think it'd be great to note that as an action item, Chief Jetty. And Road Agent Henry. Bring us in, and I think concrete solutions. I'd love to hear some ideas that make sense.
Fire truck, so that-
Some what?
Bucket bumpers on fire truck.
We don't want to just look the other way while we're creating a safety issue, though, with some of these areas. Yep.
Is it possible we could get the chamber involved to
We talked about that too, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Sounds like it'd be a good work session someday.
It does.
Something better than it.
Let's just cancel the other one and have this one instead. All right, I'd like to wrap up the parking discussion then, one more time around the room here before we move on.
One more, like I was telling Jay, they got a wedding going at Whitney's today when I come down, and they started parking right on that intersection, right in the road, because a few years ago, they did away with most of the parking out front. They put the lawn, and they don't want to walk from the Black's parking lot, so they park right out front, right in the edge of the road, right in the road now. When I come down with 3 cars on Movie Farm.
What do you do? It's like
When
throw a rock and hit a 200-car parking lot, but you'd rather park on the road.
I think that could be an easy fix.
Just like a parent job over there. They
Don
don't-
was very, Don's very accepting to that.
Yeah.
You just have to go talk to him.
Yeah,
that's fine.
right.
He's very amenable.
At Whitney's, yeah.
Yeah.
Any, yeah.
While we're talking about it, I figured mention that one.
Any final comments on parking before we move on to the next order of old business here? Okay, this is public comment, isn't it? Any other public comments? Any other topics? Anybody want to comment on? Nancy?
We had come to the meeting a couple weeks ago, and stopped you if you already talked about this, to ask you guys about septic permits and why when you get a state certified septic permit, you then had to have it recertified by the town engineer. And you guys had directed us to the planning board, and we went to the planning board, and they didn't know anything about it. And they sent us back to you.
You have an answer for that, Kevin?
I think I might have an answer. That's actually in your zoning, that there was something in there that says something about you guys voted on having a independent person check on septic systems. I don't know how it's worded, but I think it's in that zoning. I'll find it for you.
It is, but you don't have.
The planning board said it was a selectman set it. Dick Bennett was on there, he said the selectmen decided on that. They said go back and talk to them, they got the authority over it.
We created an ordinance?
Yes,
Yeah, there is an ordinance.
way back when.
Yeah, not
Okay.
us, we, but
In the towns,
All right.
Forefathers.
a lot of towns do not get involved in septic inspections.
And,
The state already has theirs.
and this town has
So a lot
chosen
of
to.
towns just don't bother
Okay.
with it because they don't need
There
to.
you
Some
go.
towns feel as though
gotta have a
they
hand
want
in it.
their input and want their say to do whatever because of the regulations in that
Is
town.
anybody under the impression that selectmen can do away with ordinances that we don't like?
Yeah,
Can we
you
do
just
that?
gotta do it for the
The state's got inspected
people to
anyway.
vote on it.
Yeah, been covered without the state inspecting, so.
Right, that's what I'm saying, is that I don't, selectmen can't just
No.
do away with an
You'd have
ordinance.
to create a, have to get voted on at
Yeah,
town meeting.
right.
town meeting, right?
Exactly, it's the legislative body that produces an ordinance, and so
You'd have to.
it may have been introduced by selectmen years ago, but it's on the books as an ordinance, so it has to be enforced.
Maybe it's our way to choose.
Kevin?
I just make a comment that anytime I have a question about septics, usually I can call Bert Phillips, he's right there, it's a
Mhm.
phone call away,
Yep.
usually gets straightened right out, and there's been many issues, I mean, even so I don't supposed to get involved in that, but it's come up on permits and just questions about what people can do with different pieces of property and stuff. And I haven't dealt with the state yet, so I don't know how.
Works the same way.
Is it, so if I call, they're gonna give me an answer?
You're gonna call
Okay.
Concord and talk to somebody.
But anyway, he's been a great help.
All right, thank you. You feel like you got an answer, Nancy?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I see at this point, Burr's the only one that benefits from this process.
Probably.
Well, I guess the benefit for the town is it's a second set of eyes, you know how the state works. So it's a second, the only benefit for the town is it's a second set of eyes that make sure it's the way it needs to be. That's the benefit to the
Yeah.
town. But if the town feels as though it's, I don't know how much money it costs the town to have that, or
It doesn't cost the town anything, it
costs
costs
the
the homeowner.
The homeowner, not
The homeowner pays, and so the only reason.
oh, yeah, because you pay Jackson for the part of the subject.
Citizens can petition a warrant article to remove an ordinance, correct?
Yeah.
So feel empowered and get involved next year and petition to remove it, and
Thank you.
you're back. Any other public comments? Here. Who's first?
I had asked a few meetings back before the town report got done, if we might be able to list by vendor how the expenses flow from the town, which is something that Bartlett's always done and still does, and that the town did. I'd have to look in the town reports to see when we stopped. I'm not sure why we stopped. But I had made the suggestion, and I'm not sure where it went from there, but I just wanted to give you an example of what it looked like and just find out if it's something we might consider. You know, the information's already in the system. It's just a matter of generating a report. It's just a different format, but it shows who the town's doing business with, and it just shows a level of transparency, I think.
Okay. Sure. I mean, so a lot of town reports, in your opinion, have a complete list of vendors that they do business with, and you think ours should be too. Has it ever done that?
Yes.
And why was it?
I think 05 or 06, they stopped listing some of it, and then they lumped all the wages together. They used to be all broken out in each department.
So in 2006, whoever the selectmen were decided to end that practice.
Yeah, in 2008, they stopped, like the police lumped everything together.
All right.
But in 05, I know they did the supplies and stuff.
Of all vendors that do business with the
Well,
town.
yeah, if you did work for the town or whatever.
We just read the same one. This is-
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you. Any other public comments?
Can I just say one
Back on
thing?
Prospect Farm.
What's that?
I said, back on Prospect Farm, we went over and Jackson residents, it wasn't gonna change, we'd get a permit, get a key to go up there. And Larry put it in here, no ATVs, no off-road vehicles. You agreed when I showed you what was voted on, we weren't gonna change it.
No, we found nothing that was ever voted on.
No, we know it wasn't voted on in
Yeah.
'04.
Right.
The selectmen okayed it. They have the authority for Jackson residents. And I come to you in first meeting in January, and we discussed that.
Julie has the complete running dialogue that we actually went back and reviewed the entire year, and the selectmen never voted to allow Jackson residents to use ATV vehicles up there in Prospect Farm. And in any of the minutes we came across, and we reviewed the entire year's worth of minutes.
The select,
So,
And we said we
can
weren't
you
going to change.
print that and pass that on to,
Yeah, if you want to,
yeah,
I can print off a copy.
okay.
Just one comment, this is back to the
Yeah.
parking thing. Just
Yeah.
because I have an opinion, if Chief Jetty and Jay wants me to be on some process with them to look at it, I'll be glad to do that, if they want me to do that.
Excellent.
Otherwise, it's up to you guys.
All right.
Sure.
Any other public comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.